Hello everybody and welcome back to Teresa's Corner. I am Teresa Ruiz and today I hope you guys are all enjoying your Sunday. Today I'm going to be flushing and watering my orchids. I will not be fertilizing. I did that last week. I just wanted to show you what my greenhouse looks like right now. I have the humidifier running. It is 81 degrees inside. I have the fan running. It doesn't feel like 81 because it is nice and humid in there. That's what my environment is right now. So normally I would do this in the sink, but I am outside. It's nice weather right now. I am gonna let all my water run into my grass. It's looking a little dry. It's shower time for my orchids. So I normally just shower my orchids completely. It's still early enough during the day and there's a lot of air flow that I'm not worried about any rot or anything like that. As you can see, this one's drying up a little bit. It's not looking too hot, but eventually I'll have to repot it. You see all that gunk? I flush my orchids at least once a month. I just want to make sure I get all that salt residue left from fertilizers. I have quite a few orchids that are in some need of some extra attention, which I will be pretty soon. But look at this one. You see all this right here? This one here? This is from salt built up. Okay, so I do fertilize every other week. And I start off with an Orchid Pro 7, 8, and 6. So it's 7% nitrogen, 8% phosphate, and then soluble potash is 6% and 2% calcium. I have noticed that my orchids are suffering from lack of calcium. So I went out and purchased a calcium 5% solution, which I do add a few drops. I normally just do half the recommended portion on the Orchid Pro and I mix it in a gallon of water. So I actually go way lower than the recommended solutions because I do not want to over fertilize my orchids. These two cymbidiums I had already flushed in the morning, and I do that because these two orchids are my largest and I feel like they're going through some type of, I don't know, I feel like they're not doing too good. They're drying out. So I always make sure that I get all the dust on the leaves and all these spider webs that are formed there, because I want to make sure that the leaves receive as much sunlight as possible. When they're covered in dust, at least to me, I feel like it's harder for them to absorb sunlight because there's layers and layers of dust just built up because I do have these orchids outside. While I like to shower them at least once a month. I have quite a few Cattleyas, more like 3 or 4. And you see this? I don't know what it is. So the flesh feels very soft and I don't know if it's a fungus. I don't know if it's just spots that you would get from a calcium deficiency. This is why I mentioned earlier that I think I might have a calcium deficiency. My orchids starting to happen there, and it starts off with just as a spot and then it ends up looking like this. I don't think it's because of the sun, because they've been out here for months now since I received them and they've all been doing good. It's just recently I noticed these. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. Rex Berardia. So I don't know if you guys recall, I purchased this one from the Cymbidium Orchid Company, and when I received it, the leaves were a little more, there was nothing wrong with it, right? It was perfect, but the leaves were a little yellowish. I believe it was because it wasn't receiving enough sunlight. You can see some of them still look a little more yellowish. But now that I have them in my greenhouse, I have the purple and blue LED lights that come on at night for like a few hours. And look at that. The green is a little more vibrant. You can see the difference between the colors. This is one of the older growths. But when I bought it, it already had this growth here. It just started developing another growth there. I'm not too worried about the dust buildup, because these are inside my grow area, but they still get somewhat of a dust buildup, but mostly it's dead bugs. Because after I do this, I normally, once they're dried up, I grab a cotton ball and I'll use sulfur-based pesticide. I have not noticed any damage on my leaves or anything like that. Just dead bugs. I'm being a little more careful with this one because I just noticed. So there's a new growth there, right? And there's a flower spike right here. So I'm just gonna tilt it and water just a tiny bit. I'm not too concerned with flushing this one because, like I said, I only use half the recommended dosage of fertilizer, so I'll be fine. I have this Cattleya here. It's a larger Cattleya, a pink one, pink/purple, very beautiful, blooms the size of my hand. I have this new growth here and it has a sheath. I'm pretty sure I will be getting blooms. It wasn't bloomed last year, but you see all that? I don't know if you can see that there. I don't know what it is. It almost looks like some type of asthenia. I believe that's how it's pronounced. If I didn't, I think it's some type of scarring. And then look at this. Look at this. It might just be heat damage, which is what I think this is. It looks here. It looks like it's here, but I don't understand because Cattleyas are supposed to be very resilient to sunlight, and from what I understand, they like sunlight, so I just don't understand. Please, if any of you guys have an idea of what that might be, let me know so I can treat it properly. Even the back of it is. Like I said, I don't know if it's just sun damage. So I moved these into my grow area, and so far I haven't seen any more of these weird spots appear. But let's hope it stops. I noticed ants in here the other day, so I'm trying to make sure I flush the ants completely. These used to be outside where I have my other Cattleyas, but they used to be in the lower level, so I believe that's where the ants are coming from. I believe this is the white Cattleya. Like I said, it's a larger one. Alright, so these two you see here used to be in one pot. It used to be one. When I purchased it and I went to repotting, it broke off, so I decided to just have two of them, right? And they were doing really good. So I did a little experiment. I tried doing one with very little bark and sphagnum moss, and it was doing good. I got this new growth. This one developed way faster, and it developed first before the other two that were potted. But I ended up getting that same spot, and I cut the leaf off. You know, I cut into the good flesh, and it continued to spread. So I'm thinking it might be like a fungal. Then the one that was potted completely just like the other one in that same size pot, what happened was that the entire leaf just blackened. It died off. See that? It has good roots. I ended up pulling it from the pot because I thought maybe I had an issue with the media. And I wanted to see what was going on. But, I mean, look, it's fine. I don't know why the leaves are dying off or they're looking like that. If anybody has an idea, I would appreciate your input so I can treat it properly. Like I said, the roots are good. Green tip. It has a good root system. I'll be repotting this one soon, and I think I'm going to pot both of them in the same pot. But I just don't know what's going on with these, you guys. I purchased these. Well, actually, they were a gift from my husband. Last year's birthday gift were these two beautiful Cattleyas. And this is my first year with them, so I was very excited when they started, you know, sprouting new growth. And look, the sheath is intact. I feel buds in there, so that's good. But the leaves are just dying off. I don't understand. So from what I understand, these like a lot of sunlight, and I have been providing a lot of sunlight, but look, what happened? Oh, it just fell off. I don't know if this is from too much sunlight exposure. I'm not quite sure. It's just one of them. Must be normal. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if I should be concerned about this or not. It's doing great. I received it with one growth here, and it started developing a second one there, so that's good. Next, I have a lot of my Phalaenopsis. They're doing great. I just have to be very careful with the crown. I don't think you guys have seen this one, but I have an orchid here. Beautiful orchid. It grew a terminal spike, or a spike from the crown. So you can see here, this was one of the leaves, and it had another leaf right here actually, and I cut it off because a spike started growing from there. I was gonna cut the entire spike off in hopes that I would get a keiki from somewhere along the plant, and I haven't. I ordered some keiki paste I will be trying out in hopes that I get a keiki from this one. It is a beautiful flower, so I'm hoping I get a keiki somewhere. See that there? I just want to make sure that all the dust comes off the leaves and dead bugs that have been accumulating there. This one is beautiful. I don't remember what kind of color the blooms are. I believe this is one of the orchids my husband brought back from RCP, where he works. The ladies from the office, every time they have orchids and they don't want them anymore, they normally send them to me. So look at these roots. There's a lot of fire webs there. There's some cinnamon on the leaves from when I cut the spikes. Look at this one. Isn't the foliage just beautiful? This is another orchid that I received from the ladies from RCP. I received it after it was done blooming. I cut the spikes, I repotted it. It's doing fantastic. Look at those. It's doing fantastic. Look at those roots. So lately I've been having issues with mealybugs. I think I see one in there. I'm gonna have to grab a cotton swab and clean the inside of it. I don't know if you guys can see that there. There's some white residue. I don't know what that is. But here we go. Look at this leaf. It's massive. I don't see any new spikes yet. tons of new roots. This one's stuck to the pot already. I know that a lot of you guys might be freaking out right now because I'm doing the one thing you should not be doing with phalaenopsis, which is spraying water right on top of them. That will create crown rot. So do not do that if you are not going to have an area to put your orchids that will not have good ventilation. You need good ventilation. So let me show you. This is where my orchids are going to sit out. It is still early in the day. They're going to sit out here for 3 to 4 hours until they're completely dry. You see all that there? That's just salt buildup. So I have it hanging from a hook, and this is how it hangs. So I'm definitely not concerned about any crown rot because all that water normally will just drain out. So out in the open, out in the wild, where in their natural habitat, this is normally how they hang. So when it rains, all the water just starts pouring down the leaves. It doesn't really sit here, so that's why you normally don't see any, at least orchids don't suffer from crown rot out in their natural habitat like do here, like growers in our area. It's mostly because we don't have good airflow or circulation that happens after you water. My smaller orchid like these here with new growths, I'll be flushing, I'll be doing it indoors in the sink. There's a third growth there. It's still pretty young, so I don't want to run the risk of losing it. You can definitely tell that I need to flush it. Look at all that salt buildup. This is why I'm doing this, because I started noticing that my leca was starting to look like this. And that salt buildup right there. This is why it's important to flush your orchids, because all that salt buildup, they will not like. And it can start damaging your root. Alright guys, I'm done flushing what I'm going to flush out here, and I'm going to show you how I'm actually going to dry the remaining water, or the sitting water here. So I'm going to grab a tissue and I'm going to fold the corners, right? Fold the corners just like this, and then I just insert it, pushing. I'm not applying too much pressure. But you see that? That's all water left in there. And you want to get as much as possible. So you want to make sure you apply some pressure, but not too much to where you're going to damage your leaf. You can do this with tissue, you can do this with cotton swabs. I just find it easier to be able to stuff the tissue in there. And I'll do this to all my orchids with, not just my phals, but my orchids with new growth. Can you see all that water on the tissue? All right, once I've done that, they're gonna sit out here for another hour, or another 2 hours or so. And then when I put them in my greenhouse, I'm gonna have the fan running to make sure there's no water left. And that's how I make sure that there is no crown rot develops on my orchids, at least my phals. This is all I have for you guys today. Just how I flush my orchids right after they dry up and I put them in my greenhouse. I will be adding some filtered water, and that's it. That's all I do for the next 3 days. I'll fertilize in like 3 days or so, 3 to 4 days, depending on how dry the media is. So thank you for joining me today, guys. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe, like, share. If you have any suggestions, any concerns, any tips for me, please do put those in the comments below. I do review my comments on a daily basis, and I do respond to all of them. Thank you for joining me today, and you guys have a good day. Bye.